Good morning, everyone. Just trying to make sure everything was set up. Hi, Donna, Marty. Good morning, Angela. Hi, Tammy. Good morning, Christy and Denise. How you guys doing today? So, once again, as for par for the usual for me, I was kind of looking up what we were going to do right before we started. I remember the other day when we were all chatting on oh my goodness, Lisa's page. We were looking at the Tipsy and all that kind of cool stuff. We were talking about doing stamping into heat embossing or heat embossing powder that was liquefied. So I was kind of just like checking out a couple extra videos this morning. So once again, I haven't done this before, so we'll burn a little time and wait for some people to get in here. I'll share a couple things with you. But we're going to basically heat up some embossing powder, several layers of it. Cool part is, too, in case you haven't seen it, this is called the Boss. And this is another product that Lisa and her husband create, her husband John. And they have colors that you can pick, but this is really cool. It will fit any embossing tool, but I did specially finally buy my Stampin' Up! Heat Embossing tool just for this. This is called the Boss. You can get your name put on it or something else if you like. If you can't find them, they do have a page on Etsy. You have to look up Crafters Solutions, so Crafters with an S. Crafters Solutions. You can also find them on Facebook. But the cool part about this is that I'm gonna actually leave my heat tool on, heating like this. That way it'll be easier to melt the powder. Hopefully it'll work out faster. The other thing that I brought as kind of a little bonus to hopefully move this along is I have an old cutting board that I have just wrapped with foil. As you can see, this was the original piece. I thought I got a piece big enough. I thought this was much smaller, but I thought I got a piece of foil big enough that would wrap around. But what this will help to do is to heat the back of the embossing powder to just hopefully melt it a little bit more evenly, and also so it won't torture you guys, because we have to put at least 4 layers of embossing powder before we can stamp into it. The other thing I need, sprinkling my creativity, you're hilarious. The other thing you're going to need is Versamark to stamp your stamp in. So basically what you're going to do is, and you also do need to use rubber stamps. That's one other important thing. So you want to use something that has a lot of detail. So you could technically use the sailboat or an anchor, but I picked a couple other things, and we can do several of these to see. And I also have a couple other ideas to share. So we could do like one of these from the Tropical Chic, which, praise the Lord, is carrying over. This is one of my favorite stamp sets. We could also use the butterflies or this flourish from Beauty Abounds, but again, you want to use a rubber stamp. I don't know that this would work photopolymer. The heat could end up melting your stamp, so I would not suggest trying it. I've not done it before at all. This will be my first time, so I'm just telling you, I'd be careful. You could also use it with the Happy Father's Day or the car if you wanted to make something with that for Dad. I think that'll be a great card for Father's Day. But I wanted to tell you one other thing that I saw, and if we have time, I will definitely attempt to do this. And you could certainly do it with just a plain shape. But the person that I was just watching, what they actually did was, and I'm going to try to pick one that would make a little bit more sense. So we'll say, just for the sake of it, like a cross. So what she did was she had a die cut piece of paper. So we'll do it with some regular stuff, but we could also do it with something like this. So she has a die cut of something, and then it would actually be in the shape, and then you could stamp on top of it. So that might be another cool thing to do. So we could cut out, for example, the cross, and then there is a stamp that matches this flourish here. So you could stamp that over top of it. So it would be like, you could use it as like an accent image instead of necessarily stamping like words or something on it. I'm not sure how good or how clear the words will be, so we'll definitely try this just to see. But I'm also thinking I want to do one of these from the Tropical Chic stamp set. And let me get out, I'm going to get the cross. Give me one sec. I'm going to grab that cross stamp set. And then what I'll do is I'm going to do a die cut. I'll die cut the cross, and then we'll stamp this little image into it. They did suggest, from what I've seen, to use something that has a lot of detail. You don't want anything that's kind of limited, I guess it wouldn't show up as well. So you could also, we could stamp, you only want to do one at a time. That's the other thing. You could stamp like this, just kind of into it. So we'll play around and see what works. Again, I'm not sure how well this is going to work. I've never done it before. Let me just grab my gigantic container here of embossing powders. So, are they in here? Nope. Pulled the wrong thing down. Well, you gotta love that. Oh, I just hope these shelves never collapse. That would be like a complete catastrophe. So, I'm gonna just get out one of my trusty coffee filters. But you could do this with any embossing powder. I don't really think it needs to be like white or clear. So what I'm going to do just to try is, and I think it would be probably a little bit easier to see if you did something lighter. So I'm going to do something with silver. And where is my, I have a couple of them here that I have mixed. In case you guys have never mixed powders, they sell these little containers at the dollar store. So you can like mix, if you mix silver and gold, you can get champagne. So there's lots of cool combinations you can do. And I'm looking for, where the heck is, I want to use copper. So I'm going to do copper as well. So we'll do silver and copper. Okay, let me put these back in here. And we will see how it turns out. So again, you do need a piece of paper. I'm going to start with thick Whisper White, just that way whatever it is that we do will hold up a little bit. And let's see, I have a piece here. So we're not going to do anything huge. So we'll do it onto these two and then kind of see what it looks like from there. And then what I will do is after we do these two, we're not going to actually probably finish a card today, but after we do these two, then I'm also going to do a die cut. And we will die cut out some of what we're looking for. So, hey everybody, you've done them before? Okay, Janet, well that's good to know. At least I'm not alone because this will be my first time. So I am going to go ahead and just turn my embossing tool on, and I'm going to put it on high because you definitely want it to be hot. So the cool part is I can just have this facing away and it can stay hot. I'm sorry, that might be a little annoying to listen to, so I will talk loud. So what I'm going to do for now is I'm going to just take Versamark, and I probably should get a scrap. And I'll just do both of these at the same time. Oh, as you can see, I really, really like to reuse paper. So we'll do one in silver. Oh, this is two. Thought that felt awful thick. We'll do one in silver and one in copper. And I'm going to just stamp this with Versamark. I'm going to kind of do like half and half. Okay. So you definitely want to keep your Versamark handy. Alright. Probably should have brought 2 coffee filters down, but oh well. There's one. I usually have them like stashed underneath, but alright, here's another one. So silver and copper. Alright. So I'm going to just push these out of the way. I'm going to put these down. And if you, I should actually switch these since we're doing 2. If you heat these enough, you should not have to re-stamp them with Versamark, because if you re-add the powder while it's hot, it usually will adhere to it. So we'll see. So I'm going to heat these up. And just in case you've never embossed before, you can tell the side that is heated, it gets shiny. So this side on the right is heated, the side on the left isn't. Alright, so I'm just going to take this real quick and just re-dump. Oop, didn't stick too much. So let me heat that a little bit. I got too slow. Which is fine. I'm going to let that cool. And one thing I know is that you do want it to be really, really smooth. So you want to make sure you get a really nice, smooth layer. All right, go back over here. Same thing, and I'll just dump again. Oh, shouldn't have done that on there. That was a dumb move. I forgot about my paper. Okay, so same thing again. Oh, I just smeared it. Well, isn't that nice? Well, that's going to have a unique look to it. I accidentally smudged that into my heat tool. I guess you kind of also have to think about it this way. I do the things that are probably not the smartest. That way when you guys will be like, okay, note to self. Don't do that. All right, so I'm going to set this on the side. So you can see from this, like it's getting very smooth and even. Especially this one. This one I accidentally smudged, so just give it a second. I'm going to do the same thing again. Let me grab my paper this time. Okay, I'm just closing it back up. Same thing again, so once more with the copper. Now once I get to the fourth layer, I'm going to do them one at a time. And the reason why is because when you stamp, you have to have it really, really hot for it to work. Or so this lady said. I don't know if that's correct or not. Again, I watched a couple videos, so we'll see. So this is it's called The Boss, Debbie. If you go back and watch the beginning, you can find this on Facebook or on Etsy at Crafter Solutions. They also make a Tombow glue holder, which is brilliant. And they now have a new tape gun holder. And I apologize, I can't remember what she ended up deciding to name it. Alright, so I'm on my fourth layer. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to just let this cool down just for a sec. I'm going to do it again with the Versamark. Because you definitely want a good layer to be able to basically sink your stamp into. Alright, so let me heat these up, and then we'll do our final layer for each. And once you have the layers heated, it actually does melt much faster. Once you get like that initial layer on there. And it's funny, all the times I've never done this before, ever, in any class that I've ever done or anything. Okay, so I'm going to turn this off just for a moment. So, we have a pretty good layer. As you can see, that's pretty smooth, except for that goof that I goofed up. We have a pretty good layer on each of these. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to pick a stamp, and we're going to prep it first. So I'm just going to sit this here, because I am going to put one more layer on each. So, let's see. How about if we do the leaf? We're going to do this leaf for the silver. And we'll try the words, because I don't know how well words will or won't work. So we'll do the Happy Father's Day for the copper. So what we're going to do is we're going to just pick, these are the new cling mount. You see how nicely they pick up. These are not. These are the old clear mounts, so these take a little bit more to press. You can also retro mount this. So what you want to do, let me just make sure this is like super clean first, because this one looks a little bit dirty. I think my niece made I think my niece made a card the last time she was over, and she used black ink, so it could very well be a little bit stained, which is fine, but just want to make sure it's nice and clean. All right, so now what you have to do, just want to stay, hold on. What you have to do is you have to prep your stamps, because basically if you stamp your stamp into this when it's hot, it could very well not come out. So again, I've never done this before, so learn from my mistakes. So watch before you do. So what you're going to do is you're going to just stamp your stamp with Versamark, Basically, that way, when you stamp it in there, it's going to release. So I'm going to make sure that's nice and inked up. And then same with this one. And I'm going to do these one at a time because I want to make sure that I do them well. So what I'm going to do is I'll just do the copper one first. I'm going to put one more layer on this. So here's my plan. I'm going to turn the heat gun back on. I'm going to ink this once more with Versamark, dump the copper on it, heat it up. And then when it is really hot and melty, I'm going to take my stamp and I'm going to press it into it and I'm going to let it sit for 10 seconds because what it should do is make an impression and the ink should help it to fall out. Hopefully. So let me ink this up. I'm going to turn this on. And then I'll do the silver one afterwards. All right, so I have my copper powder. I'm going to do one more dump. And you could probably mix powders if you wanted to, which is also why I really like using the those containers, because then you can mix what colors you have. So again, since this has been off for a minute, I'm going to make sure that I really heat up the powder on all the sides. Get everything nice and hot. My stamp has already been dipped in Versamark ink to hopefully make it release a little better. If not, I will be purchasing a new one, I'm guessing. So it's really, really hot. You can see it's super like smooth and melty. All right, so I'm gonna put this down and I'm gonna just stamp my stamp in. Oh, I wiggled it. So I don't know how smooth it's going to be, but I'm going to let it sit there for a second. So I'll move that off of there, make sure it moves. This is the moment of truth. Yeah, actually this one ended up having a 5th layer, Donna. So I had 4 and then I just put an extra one on. So with this silver one, what I can do is I'll just heat this up with 4 layers and we'll see if there's a difference. All right, so let's see. It should come off pretty easily. Ah, it did come off easily. So look at that. And then when this is totally cool, what you probably could do is cut that out with the coordinating die. So it is completely dry. That is really neat. I'm so proud of myself, guys. We did it. All right, before I get crazy, I am going to go ahead and put this copper powder. Just gonna put this here just to have a catcher just in case. I'm gonna put this back into the container. That way when we do the other one, what we'll do is when we're finished with this, I will do one with one of the in color colored embossing powders. Just for like something different. We'll do the cross one with something different. That sounds a little crazy, but we'll see. All right, so there's one. So we got that. So you do want to make sure one other thing. When you ever use Versamark, you really want to make sure that you clean your stamps off well because it can become very tacky and it kind of attracts like goop to stick to your stamps. Just make sure you really clean it well. I just use the chamois, quite honestly. And one other tip in case you're a new person to these new cling mount stamps, the longer you leave them on stuff, sometimes they are harder to get off, okay? So I do try to unmount my stamps when I'm finished with them for the day. And you don't want to just pull because if they're very sticky, they can actually pull the rubber and the foam apart. So when you mount these, you want to like tap them onto your skin, or you can tap them onto like your jeans because it kind of takes a little bit of the sticky off. So just a couple tips there in case you're new to that. All right, so for the next one, this one has 4 layers. So I'm going to just reheat this as is. As a matter of fact, let me dump this back in here too. And then it's like funny because it's something so new. I know some of you have probably done this before, but it's like when you do something new like this, you're like, whoo, all the cool stuff you have to do to share it, right? Okay, so I did already ink my my stamp, but I'm going to just tap it just a little more. It does stay moist for a long time, so that's good. I'm going to turn my heat tool back on. I know some people probably did this like 15 years ago. So this one was 5 layers of embossing powder, and this one is only 4. So we'll just see what the difference is. And the funny part is, even though when I set this down, I kind of wiggled it a little bit, it doesn't look wiggled. It's very crisp. which is really neat. Yes, so the Versamark on the stamp does protect the stamp. Thanks for saying that, Donna. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and heat this back up again. Again, this is the silver, and this has 4 layers. So you can kind of tell when you heat it, almost a little bit of the powder will start to kind of move around a little bit and smooth out. Like you can see, I almost totally lost that lump that was there. So I'm just moving this around. All right, I'm going to turn this off real quick, and I'm going to press my stamp. I'm going to try not to move it this time. And I'm just going to let it sit. I just want to make sure it's not stuck to the table. You tried this years ago. It's new to me. It's like, what do they say? Everything that's old is new again. So this is pretty cool. It is fun. This is really neat considering. So I'm going to go ahead while we're waiting for that to cool, and I'm going to just pull out the other embossing powder, and I'm going to bring, we'll do 2. We'll do one with a cross, and we'll do one regular something. So you guys can pick what color we're going to use. So we have the Lovely Lipstick, Blueberry Bushel, Call Me Clover, Pineapple Punch, or Grapefruit Grove. So yes, Susan, my videos are on YouTube as well. Usually they do replay here on Facebook, but you can also find me pretty much everywhere as Rachthestamper, Pinterest, YouTube, Instagram. I'm going to pull this off. So that's pretty cool. And there's nothing stuck on the stamp. So that's nice. But it did make a really cool impression. So that's really, really neat. Now this one I will say, you can definitely tell. I think I would go with 5 layers because this one is a lot lighter in color. And it's almost like see-through to the paper. Whereas this one definitely has much more copper to it. But just depending. I mean, you figure we used a lot of that. And I pretty much refilled my, my container. So it really doesn't use that much powder. So let me clean this off, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to make, I'm going to die cut 2 things. So I will die cut the cross, and I'm going to do just another random die cut of something. Let's see. Let's see here. So we have, I'll do the cross, which I'll do just the big cross, just so we have like something large, and we'll stamp this flourish into the cross. And then we can also do, like, what's another one that's a good one? That'll be kind of neat. I'm trying to think of something, because I have, like, the sailboats are a little large. You could do the, like, the lighthouse, or you could just do a shape. So we could do, let's do that. We'll do, like, a circle or something like that as well. So let me grab those and cut those out. How about we'll do a stitched rectangle just for the heck of it. We'll do this one. So we'll cut, I'm going to cut these 2 out, and I'm going to just cut them out. I thought another piece. I'm just going to cut both of these out and I can use it for this. I'm going to cut these out real quick. Actually, you know what? Before I run this through, I'm not going to run this part through the die cut machine because I don't want, after all that work that we did, for it to like smush it down. So I'm just going to kind of trim this away. Leave that here because I'm not sure if running it through that die cutter might mess up some of the finish. So just to be on the safe side, I'll do that instead. All right, so now we have those 2. So we have a stitched rectangle and just a cross. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the flourish handy. That's what we're going to use for the cross. Make sure this is on there really well. I need to go back and retrofit all my stamps with those extra pieces of cling mount that I have. That way they won't be falling off. And then for the rectangle, how about, what was the one that I had? I had the butterfly. I'm going to be daring. I'm going to do 2. I'm going to put 1 butterfly on each end. We'll see how it works out. So cross your fingers. Hopefully it'll work out. So I'm going to just mount these both to a smaller block so they won't be all over the place. Okay, so these are the stamps we're going to use. So we're just going to do the same thing again. So any choices for color? Anybody have any suggestions? I think I'm going to do the butterflies in either, which one of these 3 do you think would be better for the butterflies? And then the cross we'll either do in blue or green. I think I'm going to do blue for the cross. We'll do blue for that. So, pick a color, and we'll get all this together. In the meantime, I'll show you this really cutie. I made this. This is a case out of the card. We're going to make this for Stamp Club on Friday, or the card out of the catalog. So, isn't that cool? Use some watercolor paper there. I don't really like the color of my boats, but yeah. So that's pretty fun. All right, lipstick. I see lipstick. We're going to go with lipstick. Okay. So let me move these little dudes out of the way so I don't have a catastrophe. Move this out of the way. I'll have these 2 set up here. So we have lipstick and bushel. All right. And here's my Versamark. And let me grab my scrap paper once more and we will get started. So we're going to just do 4 layers. We'll do 4 layers on each. I'm turn my heat tool on again. So avert your ears. All right. So other thing that is very handy if you have it, and I'll show it to you in 1 second. Let me just grab it. You can either use your paper piercer, your take your pick tool to kind of keep them in place. I also have some reverse tweezers, which I think are really awesome because you can kind of pick things up as you're doing it and not burn your finger. Let's see if I have those handy. I'll show you what they look like. Oh, here they are. So these are reverse tweezers. So you can actually like pick things up with them. So these are really handy as well. You could also use a paper piercer. You could use your take your pick tool, which here's my paper piercer. Because if you do this, you can kind of just hold it down in place. Only thing is you just want to be careful so you don't rub off your embossing powder. So I'm going to just hold that. Melt my embossing powder. Bring this one back over. Whoop. The nice part about if you have the reverse tweezer is you can kind of grab the end of it and pick it up and rotate it while you do it. So I'm going to do that one for this. So I'm going to just hit the lipstick again. I think I got that all almost. Do a little sprinkle. And as you add more layers to it, especially with these that are very pigmenty, in the beginning, you'll kind of be like, it doesn't really look like it's all on there. But it is on there. It's just when you have these very pigmented inks, it just takes a little bit more to cover up the white, that's all. And I did, just in case anybody's wondering, I did use thick Whisper White for this because I figured in case you were going to add it to something, it would probably hold up a little bit better. So I'm just pick this piece up. And then once you do it the second time, it melts so much faster. And each time thereafter, it melts way faster. It's kind of all like underheated. Also with the foil reflecting the heat helps it to heat faster too. Okay. So I'm gonna do this one, the cross first, since I did that one first originally. Oops. There you go. See somebody? I made a mess. Didn't take me long. What happened to that? So if you can see, when you have these really, really little pieces, and I just want to pick this up for 1 second and show you. Let me turn this off. You have to be careful. And the only reason I say this is because, not for the heat tool at all, but because your powder will start to blow off. If you can see that, like there's a little whiter space there, it's blowing it off. So you want to kind of make sure that when you do it, you keep moving it around and you don't aim. What I did was I went this way and it started blowing it off of that. So just try to be sure to keep moving it around. All right, and put that back up there. Sure, did I? Yeah, I was going to say, did I re-dip this? But I did. It's melting now. So just keep moving it around. Don't really aim it from the side so it doesn't blow. However, that could also be another cool technique. All right, so now this is going to be the fourth one. So I'm going to do one at a time. So I'm going to just move this off for a second. I'm going to do the cross first, and I'm going to stamp it. So I have my flourish. We're going to stamp this in Versamark. Okay, so this is all ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and stamp my cross again. Okay, and let me cover this up. I'm going to just re-sprinkle. Alright, so now I'm going to do my best to kind of hold this like in the tiniest spot of the bottom while I heat it and then stamp it. So again, just moving it around that way you don't blow it off of any specific spot. Oop, make sure the whole thing is really nice and melty. Oh, come on, Rach. Okay. And I'm going to just, hopefully this works. Stamp. I'm going to let that sit. And we'll do this other one in a second. See what that looks like. Thank you, Shar. I appreciate it. So this isn't cardboard, actually. Fran, this is a cutting board that I have had up here. I didn't get the cardboard. I've had this cutting board that's an old cutting board that I've had for a while, but sometimes I just forget to use it. So while I have a sec, I'm just going to dump this back in here while we're waiting for that one to dry. All right. same with this one. Woo! Got a little excess dumpage there. No biggie. All right, let me pull this and see if it worked. So it did. It's not huge. I probably could have centered it better, but it is very pretty. I think it's subtle enough that it would be really nice to add to a sympathy card. Maybe if you were doing it, you could center it so it was kind of like a teeny bit more would be up here. But that is really, really, really pretty. All right, so let me put this one on the side. So again, that was using this. And I'm going to stamp my 2 butterflies. This is going to be a feat because I have 2 things. So let's see if I can do this correctly. So I'm just going to hit them with a little Versamark. And I still need this for my other piece, but these 2 are ready. So I'm going to take my panel here. Again, we just cut this with one of the stitched rectangles. Just Versamark that up. I'm going to do a dump of the powder once more on there. Okay. All right, I'm turning my heat gun back on. And I'll put these here, that way I have them. All right, so here we go. Okay, so it's really, really, really melty. All right, so I'm going to try and do this quick without causing a disaster. I'll do 1 and 2. And I should have probably put this bigger butterfly on a smaller block because it's a little lopsided, but hopefully it'll stay. So let's see. So whoever encouraged me to do this last week when we were watching Lisa's show, thanks, because this is totally awesome. But yes, this is amazing. You need to get this if you don't have it, because it, like, you can keep, you know, I mean, this thing would melt something if it was sitting because it's super hot. But you can leave it turned on and you can leave it sit. I just have it aiming like into the center. I should have it aiming on my coffee. I could reheat my coffee with it. But it's really cool. But even cooler than that is the Tipsy, because